Hello everyone. In this video, I'll show you a step-by-step example of how the unscented Kalman filter works with just visuals, no equations. Okay, here's the layout of our example. We have a bird flying at a constant speed towards the right at a constant height. So the bird is flying in one dimension. Towards the right, no up and down movement. Below the bird, we have some lovely green hills with a lake between them. We equipped an altitude sensor on the bird, so we know the terrain height below. Now let's assume we have no idea where the bird is, but we want to find out. What else do we know? Well, aside from the constant speed and height, we also have a map of the area so that we know the height of the terrain at every position. Bear in mind that the speed isn't perfectly constant because of wind or maybe the bird is getting tired, and the same goes for the height measurements. We have some noise in our measurement sensor. All right, let's start estimating where the bird is. A few more things popped up on the screen. The semi-transparent bird represents our current estimate. And since we have a map of the terrain, we can project this estimated position using the red dashed line onto the terrain to make it a bit more visually clear. We also have this red band. This will represent how sure we are of our estimate. The wider it is, the less sure we are. And since we just started the estimation, our initial estimate and the size of the red band are just arbitrary initial values. And finally, we have the blue point and its corresponding blue dashed line. These represent our height measurement. Notice that it's not necessarily right on top of the terrain. That's because we have some noise in our height measurements. Okay, now that we have our initializations and our measurement, we can run the unscented Kalman filter. Our initial step, which is the core of this filter, is calculating our sigma points. Those of you who are not familiar with the Kalman filter might wonder, what good are these sigma points? I think it'll be easier to explain after seeing them at work. So we'll go through a single cycle of the filter, then stop and try to understand what we just did and why. In short, sigma points allow us to more easily and accurately approximate how the mean and uncertainty of a system change when passing through prediction or measurement models, or just functions in general, be they linear or nonlinear. You'll see what I mean as we go through the steps. We have 3 points here. The green point is our mean. It coincides with our current estimate, and the 2 additional orange points are symmetrical around the mean and are a function of our uncertainty and our Kalman filter's scaling parameters. I'll talk about these scaling parameters in the end. The size of sigma points represents their absolute weight, or how significant each one is. Take note that these weights aren't necessarily positive. These are just weights that are chosen mathematically to make sure certain statistical values are maintained. We'll use these sigma points to capture statistical data from each step we pass them through. Let's see how that works. In our next step, we'll pass each sigma point through our prediction model, meaning how do we expect the bird to move? Our model is quite simple, simply moving at a constant speed, so each point just moved a certain distance towards the right. Passing our sigma points through our model yields a new mean and a new uncertainty, or covariance. Since our model is very simple and linear, we don't capture any significant statistical change. When we'll pass the sigma points through our nonlinear measurement model, it'll be more obvious. We'll use the predicted sigma points spread around the mean, or uncertainty, to calculate the Kalman gain later. Okay, now that we've predicted where our sigma points will end up in the next time step, we'll now, using our map, ask ourselves if our bird was indeed in any of these sigma point positions, what height measurement values would we expect to measure? This takes us to the predicted measurements, so we're shifting from the state space to the measurement space. This again helps us capture any statistical changes using the calculated mean and uncertainty. I arbitrarily placed the measurement space in the middle since there isn't an actual horizontal position in the measurement space. We're only measuring heights. See how the points aren't symmetric around the mean anymore? That tells us that our measurement function, or map, is not linear. The sigma points capture that information. All right, each point corresponds to the predicted measurement of each predicted sigma point. The X mark is the weighted average of all 3 points. and the purple error bar signifies how certain we are of our predicted measurements. We'll use this uncertainty to later calculate the Kalman gain. Notice we're projecting the height to the terrain in the state space to maintain some connection between the state and measurement spaces. Since the X mark doesn't necessarily have to be on the terrain, let's project it to this dashed purple line where the predicted position was. It looks a bit strange that the weighted average isn't more towards the green point, but remember what I said about the weights. They're only statistical tools. The weights might even be negative. They depend on the Kalman filter's scaling parameters, which have specific recommendations, which I'll address later. Now that we have our predicted measurements, let's project the weighted average back to the state space to make it a bit more visually clear. Remember the uncertainties I mentioned that we'll use to later calculate the gain? So S is the uncertainty in my predicted measurements, the purple error bar, and PXZ looks at how uncertainty, or spread, in the predicted points affects the uncertainty in the predicted measurements. Do they behave the same? Does a higher uncertainty in one result in a higher uncertainty in the other? And after we calculate these uncertainties and correlations, it's time to calculate our Kalman gain, which is just one multiplied by the inverse of the other. A simplified, intuitive explanation of the Kalman gain can be, what should I listen to more, the measurement or the prediction? The sizes of the measurement point and the predicted measurement point are adjusted according to the Kalman gain. The higher the trust, the bigger the size. So we can see I trust the predicted measurement more in this case. Why is that the case? Well, that depends on our uncertainty calculations and the Kalman filter's parameters, which can always be tuned to better fit our system. The next step calculates the difference between the predicted measurement and the actual measurement. And finally, we take the predicted position and adjust it based on the Kalman gain multiplied by the difference between the predicted measurement and the actual measurement to estimate our position. Phew, a lot of steps. Okay, now before we continue with our estimation, it's time for a short explanation on the Kalman filter in general and what's so nice about the unscented Kalman filter. Kalman filters assume the system follows a Gaussian distribution. They use the best estimate, or mean, and covariance, or uncertainty, in each step to find the best estimate of our system. They go through several steps, predicting how the system behaves, and then updating based on measurements. These models can be nonlinear, just like in our measurement model case, which makes finding the updated mean and covariance much more difficult. Finding the exact mean and covariance after a nonlinear transformation requires heavy math and is often impossible without some numerical approximations. That's where the Kalman filters come in. They help us approximate these values by making certain assumptions. Let's go over some Kalman filter examples to understand the uniqueness of the sigma points. Here's a regular linear Kalman filter. As I said, it assumes a Gaussian distribution of the state. When passing through our prediction or measurement models, which might be nonlinear, it ignores any nonlinearity in the model and just assumes everything is linear and predicts accordingly. It works perfectly when that's true, but can fail badly on real nonlinear problems. The extended Kalman filter handles nonlinearity by making a local linear approximation of the models around the current mean using the derivatives of the models. It's computationally efficient, but requires calculating the Jacobian, which can be tedious or impractical if you don't know what the model is. The unscented Kalman filter handles nonlinearity by using the sigma points we mentioned, a small set of points chosen so that their mean and covariance match the Gaussian estimate. The filter passes only these points through the full nonlinear models, then calculates the mean and covariance from the transformed points. It can do so quickly by using pre-calculated weights. It can also potentially be more accurate than the extended Kalman filter, since the Unscented Transform captures the mean and covariance accurately up to the third order for Gaussian inputs, while the EKF relies on a first-order approximation. All right, let's go through a few more steps. The bird advances, we have a new measurement, and our previous uncertainties and estimates. We create our sigma points, predict them forward through our bird model, ask ourselves, what do we predict the height measurements would be in those positions, get a weighted average for our predicted height, and project it to the state space for clarity, calculate the Kalman gain based on the uncertainties we calculated, measure the difference between the predicted measurements in magenta and the actual measurement in blue, use that difference, the Kalman gain, and the predicted position to calculate our position estimate. Let's run through a few more steps. We can see how our estimate converges to the correct position and see how our uncertainties decrease. I'll continue until we reach the water. Great, our estimate is quite accurate and our uncertainties have diminished quite a lot. Now that we've reached the water, notice that the height is flat. That means our measurements won't be very unique. You could say that the position is unobservable now. The same height can mean many different positions. That will cause our uncertainty to increase. Let's move across the water and notice our red uncertainty band. It's easy to see it's increasing, and our estimate accuracy is also slightly deteriorating. Now, what will happen once we reach land and our measurements become more informative? Our uncertainty bands shrink immediately and our accuracy increases once more. I hope this simplified example cleared things up for you regarding the unscented Kalman filter. Now, some final notes. Regarding the Kalman filter's scaling parameters, a nice paper that talks about how these parameters are chosen is called The Scaled Unscented Transformation by Simon Juliet. I don't think I said that correctly, but Additional parameters that are tuned are the process and measurement noise covariances, but that isn't unique to the unscented Kalman filters, so I didn't go into that. Also, the inspiration for this video came from a video by Andreas Svensson on the particle filter called Particle Filter Explained Without Equations. I found it very intuitive, so I decided to make a similar video about the unscented Kalman filter. And finally, the code for this animation and the unscented Kalman filter's implementation are in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.